Hi, I'm Stephen and welcome to Watch Out. In the previous video I rebuilt this Smith alarm clock. However, it has a damaged hairspring and as such it runs too fast. I really do like the look of this clock though, so I'd like to get it keeping proper time. So I acquired on eBay this clock, which I think should be a similar sort of vintage, because notice that it's got the 4 screws on the back. The later clocks did not have that. So the plan is I'm going to pinch the hairspring out of this clock to get this one running properly. So it's going to be a straight transplant. So obviously in order to do that we need to get both of these clocks out of their cases. So there we are. Before I go any further on this one, I will have a look at the donor. That's what needs to be replaced there, and unfortunately to get it out I'm probably going to have to take the face off. We'll see how we go. Anyway, let's have a look at the donor. If the donor is no good, then it's all kind of academic, isn't it? That was tight. Fair bit of rust inside that one. Does not really matter because this is going to be a donor movement. So we need the hairspring arrangements to be the same. And they look compatible to me. Yes, indeedy they do. Okay, well, that's encouraging. Okay, so it looks like this clock has actually been designed so that it is possible to get the balance out without taking the face off, because you can see there's this big slot here, and there's a little like adjustment screw thingy under there that if I slacken that off, I can take the balance out. However, the slot is quite narrow, so the tools that I have are too big to go in that slot. So I'm guessing probably the guys who service these would have had some special tool that went in there. So I am going to have to take the face off to be able to access that little adjustment screw that will let me get the balance out. Now, the hands are kind of too big to come off with normal hand levers, so I just kind of prized it off with a screwdriver, and that one came off fairly easily, although hoping that this small one will come off with just have to get that hand out of the way. There's my winder, there it is. Just get that out of the way. So we just use this plastic, it's just a Ziploc bag, just so that we don't scratch the face when we pull the hands off. So that one comes off. And the hour hand can sometimes be a real nuisance to get off, although I have had this, yeah, that one came off really easily. I have had this one off before. No, I tell a lie, it didn't come off. That's actually lifting up the see how loose this is, yeah. So you can see the hour wheel, but this will, there we go, come off like so. Okay, so I found that this hairspring is quite fiddly to work on, and unlike in a watch, you'd have like balance complete, so it's a single assembly. It's not the case in this Smith's clock. So there's kind of like the end of the hairspring is held in by this wedge. So I need to pull this wedge out without breaking anything is the general idea. There we go. So as I mentioned previously, it's really quite confusing that the thin end of the wedge is the thick end, if that makes any sense. So this wide part is the thin end, and the narrow part is the thick end. And I think that's kind of done that way to force you to center the hairspring in this little slot. Because if it's not, then it won't lie properly. So I unfortunately damaged that wedge because I didn't realize that it's kind of around the opposite way to what you think it would be. So I'm going to swap the wedge out from the other clock as well. So I've now freed the hairspring from its anchor point and from this regulator adjustment. So now all that I need to do to get it out, I know I make that sound a whole lot simpler than perhaps it is, but anyway, is loosen this off, which is very odd shaped. I'm just going to have to bring it around this way because I am left-handed and I can't do it that way. Oh, gee, that's tight. There we go. I think that wants some lubrication or something. It shouldn't be that tight. Not quite there yet. Still not there yet, almost there. There we go. Okay, so that's out. So this is the one, basically, I think the end of it has been broken off, so it's too short. So that's why the clock runs too fast. So just before I pull the one out of the other clock, I'm just going to fix up this adjustment because it shouldn't be as tight as that, so there's something not right there. Alright, so now we need to get our parts out of our donor movements. Which means again we need to get the face off so that we can access things. Okay, now just see whether this will pop off or whether I need to bend some of these lugs a bit. Yeah, there we go. Okay. It's interesting. This clock is full of oil. Look at this. The inside of the face is absolutely coated with oil. So I'm not sure what's going on there. The movement itself doesn't look too bad. But, I mean, it tries to run, but it doesn't run well. There's bits of fibre, bits of hair, stuff wrapped around the shafts. You might be able to see down in here, you can see the where the escape wheel interfaces with the fourth wheel. See down in here? There's a huge amount of gunk wrapped around these cogs, so yes, if one was wanting to use this, it would need to be certainly well cleaned. So, I'll get this cog out. There we go. Cog, wedge I should say. Let me just free this. Let's get the hairspring. So see how there's this distinctive kink right in the end of the hairspring? So another clock that I rebuilt had that same kink arrangement, and this is the reason why I think that this clock I'm trying to repair has had the end broken off, because it doesn't have this distinct kink, so I think it's broken back here somewhere. So anyway, so that's now free. I didn't put this in the vise because I'm not having any trouble getting it out like this, but I certainly will put the other one in the vise when I put this one back in, because it just makes it a whole lot easier. Okay. Should be free. There we go. There we are. Alright, so that is out. I just need to give this balance just a bit of a clean, just to make sure that the end points are clean. And yeah, you can see, look, there's rubbish. I'm hoping you can see that. I can get it to focus. No, it's not going to focus. But there's rubbish wrapped around. Look at this. I'm sure you can see that. That's the rubbish that I just pulled off the staff. So, off the shaft. So that's not good at all. So I'll just give this a bit of a clean up, and then we'll get it transplanted into our other movement. Yeah, I really get the feeling this movement has been fiddled with. This is the one I'm trying to repair, and this adjustment was like really, really stiff. It felt like it was cross-threaded, so I've taken it out and put it back in, and it feels a whole lot better now, a whole lot freer. So yeah, it does make me think that this has been fiddled with and someone has broken the balance in the process of doing so. Anyway, not to worry, we've got a new one to go in there, so I think we're just about ready to dive in and do that. Yes. Okay, that ended up being a little bit trickier than I would have liked, but we have got it back in. Sorry, I ended up doing it kind of off camera just because everything was sort of in the way. And the other thing that was really making it quite tricky is I'm using the Maggie lamp, but when you do that, you lose 3D. So you can't actually tell where things are in space, which does complicate matters somewhat. So anyway, it is in place now. So, yep, that's good. The pin on the balance wheel is engaged with the pallet fork, which is good. So all we need to do now, it makes this sound very simple, I know, but we just need to get the wedge back in. So let's just see how we go. So remembering once again that the thick edge, or the wide edge, is the thin edge, if that makes any sense at all. Okay. Oh dear, that doesn't look right. What's going on here? Looks better. Okay, it is running now. I'm going to need to lubricate those pivot points because I've changed over to this new wheel. It is looking a little bit sluggish, but I'm not sure how much wine I've actually got in the clock, and also, yeah, as I mentioned, it hasn't been lubricated. So let's do that next. Okay, get some oil in here. Okay. So I think also fairly critical is having this adjustment here correct, so that there's sufficient play in here, and I think there is. And I'll just put some more wind in it as well. That's better. It's nicely wound now. So I might just leave that running for a while and just see that it looks kind of happy. Fingers crossed it will be able to go back together pretty soon. Okay, so this clock has now been fully assembled and I've let it run overnight, and it certainly seems to be keeping time within the range of the adjustment here on the back. So we'll call this a success. So that's definitely what we needed to do, was to replace the hairspring because the one that was in there had been damaged. So yeah, we've breathed another lease of life into this clock. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video, and watch out.